Olá a todos, sejam bem-vindos. Eu sou Robson Rodrigues, sou repórter e editor aqui do canal OLHAR SIDERAL. Estamos abrindo mais uma live hoje com uma cobertura toda especial, com uma viagem filantrópica. É isso mesmo, uma viagem para o espaço filantrópico, com a anotação totalmente filantrópica, e esse é muito legal. E quem está patrocinando essa viagem hoje é nada mais, nada menos do que a Spacex. Para você que está chegando agora, o meu muito obrigado, sejam bem-vindos. Aproveite para deixar o seu like, compartilhar com os amigos, para você que já é inscrito no canal. Para você que não é inscrito no canal, aproveita para se inscrever. É um prazer, é uma honra muito grande ter a sua inscrição aqui no canal. Espero que vocês estejam me ouvindo. Eu vou até aumentar aqui um pouquinho o retorno aqui para ver se está saindo, mas acredito que sim. Ah, sim, perfeito. Está saindo o áudio aqui tranquilamente. Vamos continuar aqui então com a nossa transmissão. Bom, a Spacex tem como alvo hoje, quarta-feira, dia 15 de setembro, às 20 horas e 2 minutos, horário da costa leste dos Estados Unidos. No caso, dia 16, né, horário UTC, às 0 hora UTC, 0 hora 2 minutos UTC, para o lançamento da missão Inspiration 4. O primeiro voo espacial humano totalmente civil a orbitar. A bordo do foguete Falcon 9 da estação Spacex e da espaçonave Dragon, do histórico Complexo de Lançamento 39A, do Centro Espacial Kennedy da NASA, na Flórida. E aproximadamente 3 dias após a decolagem, a Dragon e a tripulação Inspiration 4 irão aterrissar em um dos vários locais de pouso possíveis da costa da Flórida. Faltando 6 minutos e 25 segundos, melhor dizendo, para o lançamento. Já vamos abrir a tela aqui para vocês verem aqui, acompanhar junto com a gente. A missão de hoje, conforme eu disse, ela tem uma conotação filantrópica, né? O Inspiration 4 é comandado por Jared Isaacman, fundador e CEO do Shift for Payments, e um piloto e aventureiro talentoso. Juntando-se a ele estão a médica oficial Harley Arsenals, a médica assistente do St. Jude Children's Research Hospital e sobrevivente de câncer pediátrico. O especialista da missão, Chris Seinberg, veterano da Força Aérea e engenheiro de dados aeroespaciais. E o piloto da missão, Dr. Cian Proctor, geocientista, empresário e piloto treinado. Bem, ainda abordando aqui sobre o tema, faltando 5 minutos para o lançamento, essa missão, como eu disse, ela tem uma conotação filantrópica, né? O Inspiration 4 também tem um lado filantrópico, em que Isaacman quer arrecadar nada mais, nada menos do que $200 milhões para o Hospital Infantil St. Jude, especializado em pesquisa e tratamento de câncer. Ele próprio doará metade desse valor. Bom, os 4 astronautas estarão, no caso, acima até numa órbita acima da própria Estação Espacial Internacional. Isso vai ser muito interessante, porque um dos fundamentos dessa missão é justamente proporcionar a viabilidade da permanência, né, e até, quem sabe, de astronautas civis no espaço sideral. Vamos já abrir aqui o áudio para que a gente possa acompanhar. Já vamos virar aqui para...
As you can see on the timeline there, at the bottom of your screen,
ok.
The strong back retraction is the next major
Vou só fazer um
event.
pequeno ajuste aqui.
In fact, the last
Acho que eu não vou
physical
conseguir, só
event
vou
or
fazer isso
modification
aqui.
to the pad prior to liftoff.
Vamos deixar assim, então, e vamos acompanhar.
Falcon 9 is nearly fully loaded with almost 1 million pounds of liquid kerosene and liquid oxygen. That liquid oxygen is what we see venting there those white clouds.
Nesse momento
All
está
right,
sendo
there on your
carregado
screen, you
o
can see that the
combustível.
strong back is beginning to retract.
Inclusive, esse processo do carregamento do combustível
And Kate,
já
that
iniciou
strong
já há
back will
algum
move back
tempo.
just a couple of degrees you see here. Then at T0, when the Falcon 9 sends the liftoff command to the ground to release it, hydraulics will bring that strong back the rest of the way to about a 45-degree position at liftoff.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
We've got the call out right on time. First stage liquid oxygen loading is complete. Shutting down the ground
Carregamento
pumps.
já
We're
completado.
down to just loading second stage liquid oxygen.
Aí a vibração do povo.
Under 3 minutes until the launch of Inspiration 4.
Dragon has transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power.
All right, and there's that call out that Dragon is now running on its own power. It is no longer connected to the power systems of Pad 39A. As you just heard, the crowd is super excited here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, as we are now under 2.5 minutes until the launch of the Inspiration 4 crew. That crew there can be seen on the right-hand side of your screen, buckled in and ready to go.
2 minutos e contando.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
And there's the call that Stage 2 LOX load is
Dragon
complete.
is an auto idle.
Falcon is now fully loaded with all of its
Gas
propellants.
closeout will begin shortly. Expect loud venting.
Announcement to let the crew know that as we vent off various lines on the launch pad, we'll hear some loud noises. Let the crew know that's planned. We're also right now draining the liquid oxygen out of the transporter erector, draining the lines, getting ready for launch. Waiting for the startup call at T-minus 1 minute.
Esperando o startup. Ok, 1 minuto contando.
FPS is on.
Tudo ok.
Dragon is in countdown.
You can hear the cheers. We're inside 1
Dragon,
minute.
SpaceX, go for launch.
Inspiration 4 is go for launch. Punch it, SpaceX.
Go for launch. Liberado para lançamento.
Command
30
to call it
segundos.
down.
30 seconds.
Punch it, SpaceX.
Segundos contando.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Tem menos 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off. Aí, vamos nessa.
Go Dragon. Go Falcon. Godspeed Inspiration 4.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Até então, lançamento perfeito, todo automatizado.
30 seconds. Call-outs indicate nominal. Historic mission flying the Inspiration 4 crew. Onboard Dragon and Falcon 9. Great deal of the crew in the capsule. We're into the throttle down, into the throttle bucket.
Stage 1 throttle down.
Throttling down in preparation for the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Chegando ao max kill.
A minute into flight.
9 is supersonic. Max Q.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Max kill.
We're through the period of maximum
Perfeito.
dynamic pressure.
Copy,
We're
1
throttled
Bravo.
back up, and 1 Bravo, the call out from space. That's one of the abort sequences. That is a nominal call. Everything continues to be good.
Tudo continua bem.
Looks like a smooth ride for the crew.
Alcançando aí a altitude de 29, 30 quilômetros. Atingindo aí a velocidade de 3.000,
Okay, we heard the call out.
mais de 3.000 quilômetros.
We're beginning to get the turbo pump ready on the second stage engine for ignition. We're passing through 3 G's acceleration. Everything continues to look nominal.
A gente consegue observar no momento em que o giro orbital, né, para que seja feita as primeiras queimas,
Our line engines are throttling down for G limiting. 4 G's, we're holding it there for the crew. Major event coming up will be main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, looking at the second stage engine
atenção para a
nozzle,
separação.
and an ignition of the second stage.
And Miko. Stage separation confirmed.
Ok, separação confirmada.
And ignition.
Ok, já vemos já o primeiro estágio já fazendo a manobra, se preparar para a reentrada. E o segundo estágio já seguindo a sua trajetória, a 123 km de altitude, a uma velocidade de 7.200 km por hora.
It will be making a landing attempt on our drone ship. Just read the instructions, which is parked out and holding position in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, so we have a couple of views on
Acquisition
screen.
of signal, Bermuda.
As Kate mentioned, the left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking down. That has already separated from the second stage, and it's making its way back to Earth. The velocity of the first
Dragon
stage
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
is being tracked on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. On the opposite end of that engine is the second stage and the crew, which sits on top of the second stage. Everything looks to be going normally with them. And you can also track the velocity on the second stage on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. And we also have awesome views of the crew inside of their capsule as well.
I'm pretty sure during first stage ascent, I saw Dr. Cyan Proctor.
Nominal.
I'm pretty sure I saw Dr. Cyan Proctor give us 2 thumbs up. I'm sure she enjoyed this ride that she's been waiting for her entire life.
Yes. One notable thing too is we're getting some twilight views. The sun just set in Florida, but we're high enough up where the light around the horizon is also reflecting off of very high altitude objects, such as the first and second stages.
Dragon SpaceX.
Bem, para você que está chegando no canal, meu muito obrigado, seja bem-vindo. Meu nome é Robson Rodrigues, sou repórter e editor aqui do canal Olhar Sideral. Se puder, já deixa o seu like, compartilhe com os amigos. É muito importante a sua interatividade com o canal para criar uma relevância para com o YouTube. Bem, o Inspiration 4 é uma prova de conceito de que uma missão espacial não profissional apenas com civis dentro de um foguete pode dar certo. E ela vai chegar mais alto que a Estação Espacial Internacional, a ISS. E também mais distante, né? Mais alto até do que o próprio telescópio espacial Hubble, antes de retornar à Terra. Durante os 3 dias, os tripulantes terão a chance de observar as estrelas e o nosso planeta de um ponto de vista privilegiado, além de realizar experimentos científicos e monitorar os instrumentos da nave, que além de ser autônoma, com uma tecnologia de ponta, será o tempo todo supervisionada pelos controladores da Terra. Hearing that everything is proceeding nominally there with the second stage, which is what you see on the right-hand side.
Stage propulsion nominal.
I was just going to say that MVAC engine we just heard now is looking nominal.
about a minute left to go before the first stage performs its first burn.
Bom, nesse momento eles estão estabilizados a uma altitude de 200 quilômetros, mas a velocidade nesse momento está em elevação, aumentando aí acima de 15 mil quilômetros por hora, quase chegando aí a 199, 198, agora regredindo para fazer a órbita, a primeira órbita, né?
Dr. Proctor is clearly excited that she's finally in space. Again, this mission will be orbiting Earth for 3 days, and they will be at an altitude of 575 kilometers, which, if I remember correctly, John you said that that is the distance from Los Angeles to the Golden Gate Bridge.
There you go. They're going to get there a lot faster.
Stage 2, FTS is saved.
Right now,
So what you're seeing on screen on the left-hand side is the entry burns, the first of 2 burns on the first stage. Again, this first stage has already separated from the second stage. So the first stage is making its way back to Earth, trying to land, and the second stage, everything is going well. It is headed into orbit with the crew on board.
Actually, there on your screen, you can see
Primeiro estágio já fazendo a sua reentrada, se preparando para o seu pouso na balsa.
call out stage 2 and terminal guidance. We're at the altitude. We're working the angular momentum we need to get into the right orbit. And if you're wondering, crew's pulling about 3.5 Gs right now, less than they took on the first stage flight.
So in about 15 seconds, we are expecting
Copy, Shannon.
We are expecting
throttle down.
the MVAC to throttle down and cut off an event called second engine cutoff, and then we'll wait for the confirmation of good orbit. At the same time, the first stage will be beginning its landing burn. And here we have the MVAC. We just saw that it shut off its engine.
Ok, a segunda queima perfeita, a uma velocidade estável de 27.382 mil quilômetros por hora, a uma altitude de 197 quilômetros. Aí vemos a aproximação do primeiro estágio. Aguardando a confirmação.
The door's opening now, and it's pretty incredible.
Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
Pronto. Primeiro estágio, landing. Segundo estágio já em órbita, a uma velocidade de 27.378 mil quilômetros por hora. A uma altitude estável em 199 quilômetros de altitude.
We landed our first stage on the drone ship, which is super exciting.
I think the second stage action wasn't exciting enough. So there's that MVAC engine, like we mentioned before, it has already shut down in an event known as second engine cutoff. And the crew are now gliding, if you will.
Confirmado pela Spacex, primeiro estágio landing.
The second stage is going through a series of events where we make sure that gases are all pushed out of the system. There aren't any what they call disturbance torques. We want to make sure that the second stage is very stable, it's quiet, it's not moving around, it's not doing anything. So we give it a few minutes to actually just vent everything down, then go into quiet mode. Then Dragon will send the command to separate itself from the Falcon 9. It'll be pushed away. Falcon 9 stays in orbit for a while till it eventually comes back to Earth, and then Dragon moves on its way.
Yeah, John, you talked about the terminal count earlier today, and this is almost similar to that. It's like another check before the next event that happens.
The beauty of the countdown.
Okay, we're about 30 seconds away from separation of Dragon from the second stage. The view on the left-hand side of the screen is a view of the unpressurized section of Dragon. So it's the sort of back end, the trunk section of the Dragon. So when we do see separation, we'll see that kind of push away from the second stage and make its way into orbit.
A separação, no caso do segundo da Dragon, né? O sistema de propulsão.
Once again, the Inspiration 4 has lifted off from pad 39A. They are now in orbit around Earth and where.
Okay, separação.
Dragon, separation confirmed.
So that is the Dragon trunk.
Dragon, on behalf of the Falcon 9 team, appreciate you. We gave you a great ride to orbit. Enjoy your time on orbit, and we look forward to you flying again with SpaceX.
And copy that, Garrus. We really appreciate everyone's help back in LCC.
That was the voice of SpaceX Chief Engineer Bill Gerstenmayer communicating with Inspiration 4 Commander Jared Isaacman. So Dragon has separated away from the second stage. And that's the view that we have on the left-hand side of your screen. A lot of space there. The next
signal Bermuda and New Hampshire.
And then the next event that we are anticipating is the opening.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
We're going to open up that nose cone.
Aí já podemos ver as imagens
And there's that first view that we have over the shoulders of Commander Jared Isaacman and pilot Cyan Proctor. Dr. Cyan Proctor is on the right-hand side, and Jared is on the left-hand side. And this is their dashboard for the next 3 days. These touch screens provide them all of the telemetry and data and information about the systems on board Dragon that they can interact with while on orbit.
We can see the zero-G indicator floating around.
Okay, zero-G.
And it looks like it is a little golden retriever.
Oh, like the golden retriever assistance dogs at St. Jude Children's Hospital. That is apropos.
Oh, I love it. 5th crew member on board with the Inspiration 4 crew.
So in a few seconds here, we are expecting the nose cone to open up, and hopefully we'll be able to see the first views of the Dragon cupola in space.
There we can see that they have just opened up their visors.
Ok, 15 minutos já de voo. Já estão em órbita.
And there is a forward hatch inside of Dragon between the cupola
então,
and
para
the
release,
crew. So when the nose cone does deploy,
passar algumas informações para você que está chegando agora. A SpaceX teve como alvo hoje, às 20 horas, no caso, horário da costa leste dos Estados Unidos, o lançamento do For Inspiration, o primeiro voo espacial humano totalmente civil a orbitar, a bordo do foguete Falcon 9 da SpaceX e da espaçonave Dragon, que foi lançado do Complexo Espacial de Lançamento Espacial do Centro Espacial Kennedy da NASA, no pod 39A, na Flórida.
Due to the fact that the space station is not our destination today, we were able to pull out that docking mechanism and insert the cupola, which will basically provide a 360 view of space for our passengers inside Crew Dragon Resilience here, which I cannot wait for our first views of the cupola. You know, everything that we've seen on the ground here is just incredible, and you know, to see it actually in action with those 360 views is going to be breathtaking for us. I can't even imagine what it might be like to actually experience it in person.
Yeah, this is going to be incredible, and I can't wait for them to get the first look out, and hopefully we'll get to see some of their reactions when they first look out that window.
Yeah, so if you are just joining us, this is the inspiration for mission, the first all-civilian crew into space. The team had a nominal ascent out of Pad 39A in Kennedy Space Center and are currently in orbit around the Earth.
Yeah, what an incredible place to be in right now when we can say we have now put 4 civilians into space, into orbit. It's been an incredible journey for us to get here. You know, we didn't do this alone. There's a lot of history working with our partners, NASA, to get us to this point. A lot of efforts with reusability and reflying vehicles, which we've seen on this mission particularly. We've reflown the booster 3 times. Dragon, we flew for a second time here. First flew on Crew 1 last year. And now, Jared,
Os 4 astronautas civis permanecerão no espaço por 3 dias.
It's pretty incredible. Just the fact that these are normal, regular people.
A Dragon e a tripulação do Inspiration 4 irão aterrissar, melhor dizendo, perdão, em um dos vários locais de pousos possíveis na costa da Flórida. Ainda não está definido.
The note that Jared relayed back to ground, he said that the door is wide open and the view is spectacular. Of course, they can't quite see out through the dome just yet, as we mentioned before. But metaphorically, it must be an incredible feeling to be on board Crew Dragon at this moment.
I bet everyone's super jealous of Haley and her window seat right now.
Right.
She can just turn to her left and see everything.
Chris
also has one. Yeah.
Speaking of window seats, we are approaching the coast of Ireland. We're 249 kilometers up, so we're heading from the 200 kilometers where we injected to 575, and then we'll begin circularizing the orbit. But more importantly, we got into contact with the ground station in England, and they confirmed the nose cone is open.
Amazing.
So another major event, the hooks that hold it down have opened up, and then the nose cone deploys itself up on its actuator. So that exposes the cupola, and we're going to see if we might get any kind of view here before we sign off.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we aren't going to the International Space Station. We're actually just going out into space, into orbit. So they will be doing a couple burns. Another one will be, or the first one will be 45 minutes into flight, and then another 90 minutes into flight, and that'll take them to their final orbit of 575 kilometers away from Earth.
Então, a órbita final será de 575 quilômetros acima da própria Estação Espacial Internacional, como também acima da próprio telescópio espacial Hubble.
However, we will be providing that footage once it becomes available, and the 4 of us are super excited to see what our 4 Inspiration 4 astronauts are going to be seeing over the next 3 days. So at this point, Jared, Haley, Chris, and Cyan are now officially in orbit. Over the next 45 minutes, they'll reach their cruising orbit and spend the next 3 days orbiting planet Earth. We'll be checking in periodically with the crew to see how they're enjoying their first trip to orbit and to check in on those 360 views of space.
If you are curious and want to know where Dragon is at orbiting the Earth, keep tabs on the mission with the Follow Dragon tracker on SpaceX.com.
Yeah, and stay on top of any potential live events that we might be able to have with the crew while they're out in orbit by following us on social.
And finally for today, the thank yous. Kennedy Space Center, the Eastern Range for the support getting us through the countdown.
Ok, então já encerrando aqui por enquanto, vocês observaram que a gente pode aguardar já o traqueamento, né, no caso da Dragon, né? Ok, a gente já voltando aqui. Vamos. Muito bem. Então, daqui a 45 minutos haverá uma próxima queima, a qual vai ser lançado justamente para essa órbita de 575 quilômetros, que estará, inclusive, acima da própria Estação Espacial Internacional e até mesmo do telescópio Hubble. É isso aí, uma grande missão, uma grande experiência, a qual enviam 4 civis para o espaço, e essa missão espacial da Spacex tem também uma conotação filantrópica, né? Bom, galera, muito obrigado pela presença de todos. Espero que todos tenham gostado. Por favor, deixe o seu like. Se você não é inscrito no canal, aproveita para se inscrever. Deixe o seu comentário, interaja com a gente. Isso é muito importante. Isso cria um vínculo entre nós e uma relevância para o YouTube. Tá bom? Isso faz com que o nosso canal tenha um engajamento melhor e um reconhecimento. Eu quero agradecer muito também ao nosso apoio cultural da Itanet, a maior e a melhor rede de fibra ótica da nossa região, abrangendo a região do sul do Espírito Santo, norte e noroeste fluminense, região dos lagos, região metropolitana também do Rio de Janeiro. E a gente agradece muito o apoio da Itanet. Com certeza, basta você que precisa de uma internet estável, de uma velocidade realmente confiável, basta você acessar www.itanet.com.br, acessa lá que você vai ver uma infinidade de combos que com certeza vai atender às suas necessidades, ok? De conexão. Meu agradecimento também à Inusitec, acesse lá www.inusitec.com.br e confira a lista de produtos que a Inusitec tem lhe a oferecer. Tá bom, galera? Bom, muito obrigado. Fiquem todos com Deus, na fé de cada um, e tamo junto. Até a próxima, se assim Deus nos permitir. Tchau, tchau. Um abraço.